Guys, today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to take a little bit more of an in-depth look at the macro chart, and as well I will be looking at the micro chart as always. So right now, you guys know I've been talking about this white triangle that I've been pointing out since about March now, and you guys know my thoughts on that. If we break to the upside, I think we're going to reach new all-time highs eventually. But if we just continue to get rejected here, I wouldn't be surprised if we travel a little lower, and whether that means we hold this line as new support or we break through, I can't really see us dropping below this triangle, but of course that's a lot of ifs between now and then. So right now I just want to look at what I think could be the case. For one, I want to point out, which you guys are probably all aware of, that we have this horizontal resistance here. The importance of this is we haven't created a new macro higher high in about 2.5 years, basically, since we were up here in 2017. And this would be our first macro higher high since then if we get above this red line and hold it as support. Another thing to watch is that this triangle I've been pointing out, we are really flirting with the resistance of that as well. It's a double whammy of resistance right at this point here, for me, in my opinion. But the thing that's interesting to me is that we aren't dumping real hard. We're just kind of tapping away at this resistance. So even back here, I know this was the COVID dump, but you can see how quick we got rejected at this resistance line. And the sell-offs are getting weaker. They're taking longer to take effect, all that sort of stuff. So I think the trend is actually quite bullish right now. When I say that, that's on a macro perspective, guys. This is a weekly chart, so even if we do drop down and just kind of test this support at the bottom of that doji candle, which would also line up in the next couple weeks with this old resistance line turning into new support, would be around $8,000. So that, yes, that is bearish because that's quite a drop from now, or from where we are right now. But I'm talking long term as far as the trend as a whole and the potential of a new actual bull market starting here. But another thing I want to point out for you guys is I'm going to bring up the RSI. And you can see, right, when we have these similar patterns to what I play in the price action, I like to map out in the RSI at times. And one thing that I found interesting that I noticed is we did break this one, and we are currently testing old resistance as new support, which lines up perfectly with this triangle. So you can see we have our high here, which lines up here, and then we have our next touch point here, which matches up here, and then we're testing the old resistance as new support here, as we are right here. So I found that quite interesting, and that's exactly what I like to see in the price patterns when I would be playing a bullish move on a trend line like this. And the fact that that's a weekly, yes, it's taken a while to take off, but it's a very long pattern, guys. And I think if we get a green candle close, I think it's going to hopefully break this triangle and start that bull market I've been talking about. But of course, until we get the close above this white line, this is all just theoretical until that happens. One more thing. Oh yeah, sorry. What I want to show, I pointed out this triangle and this RSI line, but also I have this pattern here. We have our all-time high at $20,000. Just map it down to this touch point here. So that is a steep angle, but you'll notice that on the RSI we have our touch point here, lines up here. This touch point here lines up right here. And then our breakout here lines up right here. And you can see what kind of a move that created, guys. That was, well, it was massive. That doesn't have to happen right now, because one thing that is different is this one did take off a lot quicker than our current one. But you can see that it did struggle for a while too. Even though it was green candles, it wasn't gaining a whole lot of momentum until it just exploded. And I bet you can find another trend line here that would cause that if we take our descending triangle like that. Yeah, you can see once we broke that, tested as support on those two weekly candles, and we took off from there. Let's see, what else can I point out for you guys? I'm just going to get rid of the RSI here, and I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Now I'm going to bring up another indicator. It is a momentum indicator, and you can see how it's been acting. We had this bit of a dump here, a flash crash, and then followed by a potential bullish pivot point, and that was with that green candle there, and we absolutely did pivot at that point, so that was fairly accurate. And then right here, guys, you can see that it's flipped to green and it's holding above the support, or yeah, I guess old resistance, new support. It's holding above this red line here, and it's in a bunch of sideways action. You can see last time this happened was right here. We had our bullish pivot point, we flipped to green, we held above, consolidated above this red line a little bit, and that was right in this area right here during our sideways action. So there's a lot of similarities with that indicator as well. So this does look like a very bullish weekly chart to me. Of course, that's such a long time frame that anything can happen in the smaller time frames to cause a dump, especially with we are flirting in two different resistance points here at the moment. So anything is possible. I'm just saying theoretical if we do get this breakout. Let me zoom in a little bit here. I'm actually going to, yeah, I'll go on the 1 hour chart here and show you what I've been looking at. Actually, no, sorry, I'm going to go to the 4 hour chart because you guys know I've been pointing out this purple channel here. And I've been pointing this out for weeks, and I said that if we got below it, I expected us to dump pretty hard. That hasn't really been happening. We did get a bit of a dump, but we recovered really quickly. One thing from a bearish perspective is we are still trading below it. We are treating it as resistance, but the fact that we've tested it 3 times and only dumped a little bit and we're already starting to try and recover, I kind of thought we would have dumped a lot harder with that situation. If I zoom out even further to the 1 day though, I will say that this looks more bearish to me. You can see that we have a few candles touching it now, just really treating it as resistance, and we just had a little bit of, well, it's not quite an engulfing candle because the body did not close below the green wick there. So we're going to have to see what happens in a smaller time frame. If we get this next daily candle to close back above this, into this purple range, I think that would be a bit of a sign that this trading action was a fake out below my parallel channel, and I think it might really rip to the upside. If I really zoom in now to the hourly chart, when we had our dump and we got below that purple line, which was my channel, I had pointed out this little bit of a falling wedge in our group chat, and you can see here we did get above it. We were testing it as support, kind of like what my weekly chart looks like, right? We're just kind of hugging that line, and then eventually we got that move to the upside. And I've mapped out a bunch of potential lines. This is more for if you're looking for high leverage snipes with tight stop losses, that kind of thing. So I had this wedge. Then you can see I drew out this yellow line. I connected this wick here down to where we began to dump, and you can see as soon as we got above that, we kind of traded around a little bit. We did come down and retest it perfectly, and then I guess I should point, and then we started doing this little bit of sideways action, and I ended up drawing out this green line because I was actually watching more of a very small triangle just for a little bit of a snipe. And we did get it, but I wanted to see where that line came from, so I just drew it out. I had just extended this line, and it matched out perfectly to where we began our dump there also. So that was another line that ended up looking interesting to me, and you can see we had another perfect retest, very similar to what I was talking about. And then next you can see where we got rejected perfectly is my red line that I had mapped out, which is just connecting the top of these three touch points of that range right before we had our dump. And look, we even double topped along it before we took a little bit of a dump again. And actually that red line matched up perfect with that purple parallel line or channel line. So I mean that was another one of those points where it was a double whammy of resistance, and it did cause a bit of a dump. But look, we just, all I'm looking at it as is we got our break of this green line, we tested the next line, and we came back down and we're retesting that resistance as new support. Again, with this momentum indicator, we had a bullish pivotal point right as a green 1 hourly candle closed above my trend line. You can see we hugged that trend line, treated it as support, and well, we took a little bit of a move. I did end up taking a long position on this green trend line when we got this green candle close. So I did take some of the profits, and I'll show you why I did that as well. Where was I going from? I think it was just this little range here. Yes, again, you guys know I like pointing out the 0.618. That was at about 91.60. So I took a little bit of my position off just below that. And I'm actually not even updating my stop loss to a break-even stop loss at this point, because if anything, I would be looking for some sort of a retest of this green line, and if I start seeing some green candle closes and candles really respecting that, I might actually add to my position. So we're going to have to see how that plays out. If we continue to break these trend lines, because you guys see that from a bullish perspective, I mean, we had this dump even below a daily trend line, but now we're starting to break resistance lines, guys. And they're lines that I've mapped out from right before the dump. Yes, they're very small trend lines on a small timeline. This is only the hourly chart, but you can see how they're being respected. So if this is going to act, if this green line is going to act just like this green wedge, this yellow line, right now is where we're going to break out of this channel and start probably retesting this red line. I wouldn't even be surprised if we kind of got above it, retest this purple line up here, come back down and retest this red line as support. Where this purple line comes from, I'll actually zoom out. I know I've pointed it out to you guys before on the 4 hour. This is actually a line I'm very interested in too. We have our 1 touch point, 2 touch point, 3 touch points, and I would not be surprised if we break this red line, that would be our next target. You guys, these are, obviously I am going well into the future when I'm talking about these patterns here and these trend lines. I'm really getting pretty specific right now. Obviously none of this is financial advice. Always do your own research and form your own opinions. I'm just showing you what my personal opinion is and what I'm kind of looking to snipe and that sort of stuff. So obviously it's all your own risk. Do your own research. Don't be an idiot. All that sort of stuff, guys. That being said, let's just zoom back out to the 1 hour here. Yeah, all in all, I could really see this trend going either direction. The weekly looks very bullish to me, but like I said, it could drop quite a bit before it acts as a springboard. This mid to short-term trend looks fairly healthy and fairly bullish to me, but the daily chart looks quite bearish to me unless we can get a bit of an engulfing candle or something like that and just totally negate this break below this purple channel here. If we get back inside, I think we're back to bullish on the daily also. But we're going to have to see how this plays out, guys. Anyways, I think I've rambled on long enough. So if you guys could give me a like, give me a comment, let me know what you're thinking on the markets here, all that sort of stuff. I'd be interested to hear your opinions. And yeah, with that, have a good weekend, guys. Stay safe. Peace. Oh, and one last thing I forgot to point out. If I just clean this up a little bit, I want to point out another pattern that I found interesting. Obviously, it's early to say if this could be a thing or not, but you guys see what I'm getting at here? Bit of an ascending triangle. Let's zoom out to the 4 hour, make it a little easier to look at here. Yeah, we'll have to see. It's obviously way too early to say if this will be a thing or not because we only have a couple touch points, but I wouldn't be surprised to see us start coiling up in here a little bit before we choose either a downward break or an upward break. So that's just another thing to keep on your radar. Also, these lines, we might adjust them. Could be something like that too. Just a couple different ideas to watch for, guys. Anywho, out for real now. Peace.